Today, I want to get into Jung Kook saying he was hurt over an ending of a show. I also want to talk about a very hot topic recently of BTS and NewJeans. And then we have to get into the alleged CEO banning or ending this BTS show. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumpling, tea spilling mug merch, and let's go. There was a BTS show that was supposed to come out a little while ago, like in 2019 or around there. I think most of us had forgotten about it by now, but before I get into that, let me give some backstory on what's going on. If you are not aware, BTS has their own series called The Most Beautiful Moment in Life. This is not really a TV show or a movie per se, but more so a compilation of their old music videos to make this really depressing story about domestic abuse, violence, and even the members going to jail. This evolved into its own thing, and they had even a webtoon series for this, which was like a comic, and it just became bigger than life. The series ended pretty abruptly, personally I feel, because around this time the boys were starting their American comeback, and it just wasn't going to be something that a lot of Americans were going to be able to understand, mainly because they were going to find it difficult to translate those very dark lyrics and meaning into English. But also they didn't want to risk being banned by TV or certain stations because the topic was too risque. And there we had Boy With Love and Dynamite, and those were more poppy sounding songs. To honor this really good series that they didn't have an ending yet, they decided to talk about creating an actual K-drama. It was supposed to be called Youth, and the show was going to be a full remake of what BTS started. HYBE even initially had a plan of making the characters in the show have the same names. This caused a lot of backlash when it was announced, and many armies fought against that idea. To say that many people who did not know about BTS now would be introduced to BTS in this way. Some people were saying that the issue was if it was shown on the K-drama that so-and-so member murdered someone, this would be used to attack the real member. I remember when this backlash happened, I was so appalled by how I felt. It was not really an issue that needed backlash, because everything that would be happening on Youth would be something that had already happened in a BTS music video. Someone can literally take a video clip of Taeyang in the bathroom crying with blood in his hands and say that he murdered someone, but that literally does not happen. Shortly after the backlash, the company announced that they were going to be changing the names of the story to make sure it was not the real BTS members' names. Bang PD then announced that the show will come out in 2020. Surprise, surprise, it did not. I think personally one of the reasons is because it has no ties to BTS. It was supposed to be an extension of BTS, and this was the main driving force and marketing for the show. Without the show having the members' names, it has no appeal. It's just a show with a lot of abuse in there. And similar to any other K-drama out there, especially in 2020, BTS wouldn't really have the ability to promote it as nothing BTS is tied to it anymore. Basically, by changing the name, I don't think armies would be interested in watching it because it's not the same name. It's not BTS related, and it's not even BTS acting in it. Now that's just my conspiracy on why it didn't come out or to light, but there's probably reasons that I don't know about. Other reasons for why a show doesn't always work out is budgeting. Like they ran out of money for this project and can't justify putting more into it. This was also around the time HYBE was probably making plans on going public on the stock market, so more attention went to that, and perhaps investors were just not as interested in Youth happening. And another reason could just be that they couldn't find a TV network to pick it up. So there's many reasons, but we actually don't have a real answer as to why the show was not picked up and if it will come back or if it's just done. I personally would still love to watch it, and I think it can still be a very interesting show. I think the show can still do well even without BTS's support, as the show can live on as its own thing, if they can get a network like Netflix Korea to take it. Recently, due to Jung Kook coming back to social media and even him leaving social media for a little bit, a lot of people were talking about the times they remember Jung Kook being more active. There was an incident a little while ago where Jung Kook stayed on Instagram for about 2 hours or so and was using the Q&A feature. He ended up answering a ton of questions, and even someone asked if he was going to check out this K-drama called 2521's last episode, implying that Jung Kook had already watched all the seasons or episodes before that. Jung Kook replied to the army saying that he will be watching the last episode, and then another army asked if the show was sad or happy. specifically referring to the ending. Jungkook replied to say that he does not like the sad ending and then called out the director to ask him to make sure the ending was happy. An ARMY had later written in the Q&A about Jungkook's relationship with them being like a rainbow, and instead of Jungkook answering normally, Jungkook replied with a quote from the show. The thing that some ARMYs took from this was this idea that Jungkook was saying that he was going to be hurt if the ending was sad. So I haven't actually seen the drama, but I do wonder if the ending ended up being happy because of what Jungkook said. Because later Netflix ended up tweeting out saying that they would want to add Jungkook into the 2521 group chat. Jungkook had posted an Instagram story while watching the drama, and in the background, you heard him giggling. And Netflix tweeted out implying that they wanted Jungkook's opinion on a show because of that. And that would be beautiful if they got Jungkook's advice. They are joking, but it's clear that they would value someone like Jungkook's opinion. And hopefully if they were able to make it happy. However, if by the time Jungkook wrote that the show was already filmed, it would be unlikely that they can make any changes. However, maybe other shows on Netflix could take note and make sure that their shows are not sad. This is just a cute story, and it's nice to know that Jungkook is usually hurt by sad art and would prefer art that is happier, since the majority of BTS's music tends to be on the sadder side. So that was very interesting to hear. It's good to know that when you hear BTS making happier music, that it's still very much the real them. A lot of people like to say that they are selling out by making happier music, but that is not necessarily true, because they could have just made sadder music in the past because they liked it, but then also it was something that worked in Korea, or for that time period. As they evolve with the times and see that happier music also works well too, and they prefer happier music, they might go that route. If you'd want to react to those older moments and videos and songs with me, I do react and fangirl to some of those older BTS moments on Patreon. If you wanted to join us there, there's a limited $1 tier that is currently still open. I'd love to have you there. Link below. People think that BTS is being replaced soon, and I was so shocked why this was even a concern. But before I get into that, let's talk about why people think this. There's this new group, if you do not know yet, they are called NewJeans. They very much resemble the Y2K trend that is now, and this effortless bad girl look. So quite a mix of both Blackpink and BTS. What's there not to like? Their debut quite shocked everyone. It was believed that they sold 1 million records very quickly, and they broke many records. To say that they even broke Blackpink and BTS's record when they started. Breaking Blackpink's record is very surprising, as the group came from a big label initially and had already had a big push. So Blackpink's numbers were already really impressive. However, people were saying that they broke BTS's record, and I'm sure BTS was just in the headlines as something very eye-catching, because breaking BTS's initial record had been broken many times already. And especially since they came from a smaller label at the time, they did not have any real push. They literally had to do it from the ground up. Having a new artist come after BTS to break BTS's record is very normal, and you would hope so. You wouldn't hope that every artist after BTS does far worse and then the company just dies. What shocked me a lot was this idea that if NewJeans is doing better, HYBE will simply just drop BTS or get rid of BTS. This idea makes very little sense to me, because BTS is still making money for the company. Even if NewJeans does a godly amount of sales and BTS can't even compare anymore, BTS is still paying the bills. NewJeans would just be paying the bigger ones. If you find $1 on the floor and then $100, do you throw away the $1? No matter what, HYBE wouldn't just get rid of BTS. BTS owns a part of the company, so I think that rumor is very silly. NewJeans being the next BTS is also a bit of a silly thing, as NewJeans is their own artist and both styles are very different. Of course, I know what they mean. Like when they say the next whatever, they're typically talking about the next artist to take the place of this huge artist in terms of success and fame, not style or music, as replicating is impossible. In the documentary, Break the Silence, we had J-Hope talk about the ending of BTS, and he mentioned that as long as the ending is a landing and not a crash, everything is good. And Jungkook even talked about how he doesn't even want to think about this. I would imagine if people are spreading this rumor and believing it to be true, this could be something that would hurt Jungkook. Of course, at this point, I think he is aware that people will just say whatever, and it doesn't mean anything, but I can't imagine the thought of him being replaced once a new group comes along, and that isn't something that is not upsetting to him, like I think it is. Fortunately, it's just not how companies operate, and it's not something that ever happens. But what do you think about all this? Do you think BTS former K-drama youth is forever cancelled and won't reboot? Do you think that Jungkook is hurt when there's sad endings and dramas, even though BTS's own story, The Most Beautiful Moment, was presumed to be sad? And what do you think about the rumor of NewJeans replacing BTS? Let me know what you think, and make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.